Hi, this is Alan Lohman. I'm going to show you how to use the Era storyboard. And this is a shout out to Miss Boyce who recommended that this would be a good idea. So what I have my students do is take a blank sheet of paper, turn sideways, and I have them draw two lines to make three equal rows. And then I have them draw three vertical lines to make four equal columns. And that sounds easy enough, but it takes a lot of practice before some kids get a hold of it. From there, you should have 12 boxes, and I label the top row of boxes the beginning eras, the middle row of boxes is the growth eras, and the bottom row of boxes is the problem eras. So that's how I group the eras. The first era we write as a class exploration at the bottom of the box, and then we draw a ship because the explorers were on ships when they came to discover new land, and our keyword is discovery. And so I just teach my students during the exploration era, people discovered new land. After that era, it's called the colonization era, and they build a house because during this era, instead of just discovering new land and then going back home eventually with your wealth, they're decided to stay in the new land and build their homes here. So during the colonization era, people built their homes on this new land. Next, during the American Revolution era, I have my students draw a flag, which is symbolic of our country, because while we were living on this new land that we discovered, we didn't want to be a part of Britain anymore. We wanted to become our own country. So during the American Revolution era, we fought Britain to make that land our own country. And then comes the Constitution era, and I draw, it's very plain and basic, the Constitution document, labeled the Constitution. And during this era, we create a government for our new country. So we will walk through as a class these first four eras together, and then I tell the students, okay, listen to my explanation of these four summaries, and you're going to turn to a partner and explain the summary, okay? So listen to me, class. During the exploration era, people discovered new land. During the colonization era, people built homes on this new land. During the American Revolution era, we fought against Britain to make this land our own country. And during the Constitution era, we created a government for our new country. And so every time a student talks about an era, they have to say the era name and they have to use the keyword in their definition of it. And so I have both the students practice back and forth explaining these eras. And then we move on to the growth eras of American history. The first era is the early republic. And during this era, we had our first 5 presidents, and America grew. During the Jackson era, Andrew Jackson, many accused him of ruling like a king. And so we draw a crown, a poorly drawn crown to represent that he was acted like a king. Then we have the Industrial Revolution era. And during this era, we built factories and became very wealthy. And then after that was the westward expansion era. And this is where we got more land. And so I'll have the students repeat after me, listen carefully to me. During the early Republic era, we had our first 5 presidents, and it was good. During the Jackson era, many accused him of ruling like a king. During the Industrial Revolution era, we built a lot of factories. And during the westward expansion era, we got more land. And so this is all about America's growth. And then we get problems. The Reform era was about Americans wanting change, and the main change that we wanted was no more slavery. The recycling sign in my mind represents change. You're changing something from what it was to something new and supposed to be better. That's why I chose the recycling sign. During the sectionalism era, we disagreed about whether we should abolish slavery. And so I have my students draw America, which is basically like a rectangle with Florida and Texas protruding out of the rectangle. The south down here, the north up here, and the west over here. And then while we had these disagreements, after that, we had the Civil War era. And during this era, we went to war over the issue of slavery, the North against the South. And then during the Reconstruction era, I have my students redraw America whole again with, this is supposed to be like their scar, and the 13th and 14th and 15th Amendments are what brought our country back together. So they abolished slavery, made African American citizens, and gave African Americans the right to vote. And this is what our country was rebuilt on. So during the Reconstruction era, we rebuilt our country with no more slavery. And so then I'd have the students listen to me again and say, all right, listen to my summary and you repeat after me. During the Reform era, many people wanted to change America for the better and abolish slavery. During the sectionalism era, people disagreed about whether we should abolish slavery. During the Civil War era, we went to war with each other over the issue of slavery. And during the Reconstruction era, we rebuilt our country with no more slavery. And so then I'd have my students practice putting it all together. And we do this really about once every 2 weeks leading up to the STAR test. And then the week before, we might do it like every day. But by giving them this blank sheet of paper, practice writing, drawing, creating keywords, communicating in sentences to each other the story of American history, they'll know the story inside and out. And that'll just help them retain all those facts from that study sheet. So I hope this was helpful to you. Please give me any feedback. I'm welcome to it. I love getting better and helping my students do even better. So give me a call or email. I hope this was helpful to you. Bye.